are back one more time here, and this will be the last section of our interview here. And I think where we left off, we were discussing, that you had quit drinking. We were talking about what you had used to get away from cravings, things of that nature. I'd asked you if you had any health implications due to alcohol. Um, what would you like to add to the fact that you quit drinking and where you're at now with it?
Well, I'm certainly glad I quit and have been able to maintain um, being sober. I'm in week number 7 right now, and I don't really think much about having a liquor drink anymore. Um, and I keep busy cooking a lot more, preparing more sort of in-depth meals. Spend time with my horse, which is good therapy for me, and spend time with my dog. But I still don't. I mean, I still need to do more. I think. I think there's still um, too much downtime, and that's another part of you know being an alcoholic. Your whole life becomes and focuses around drinking, and once you remove that, there is so much time in your day, and um, I've got to find ways to fill the time in my day. I'm not sure what that will be. I don't really have any hobbies. I'm thinking about getting back into swimming, which is something I really like. And doing that. Um, but yeah, just sort of staying off the liquor. That's my number one priority, I guess, at the moment. And so far, it's um, in the last, 4 or 5 weeks, it gets easier and easier for me to be able to avoid that.
I think
And I will never, ever, hopefully, um, be presented with, do you want a beer, and say yes. I really hope I've learned my lesson from that experience.
well, I guess you're avoiding those situations as well, right?
Yeah, I don't have a huge network of friends, and the friends that I do have are not drinkers, so I'm not being exposed to alcohol, and I don't go to clubs anymore. Those days are long gone. So I'm not exposed to that. So I think the only way I'll be confronted with liquor is probably being out in a social setting or social situation. I would like to think that I can just say no. But it's the people who are asking you to drink that often become the problem, because once you say no, often you're presented with, well, just one, like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Um, and you're made to feel like there's something wrong with you because you won't drink. And short of saying, well, I'm an alcoholic, which you can't really pull out in a lot of social settings.
Yeah.
And it's certainly something I don't want to have to say, because my back is up against a wall and it's the only thing I can say to get myself out of an uncomfortable situation. I've never had to say that. I've managed to wiggle my way out of it, but sometimes it's relentless. Like, people just cannot understand why you won't have that glass of wine with dinner because everybody else is, or why you won't accept a beer, or so that's a problem, I think, not just experienced by me, but I think that happens to a lot of people who are trying to stay sober when they're put in that situation. And you're offered a drink and people just will not back down. And I think they want the company, and it allows them to feel like, well, if everybody's doing it, then
It's
I don't
okay.
have to look inside myself.
Yeah.
So safety in numbers, misery loves company, whatever phrase it is. I mean, I think that's what's going on deep down when people will just not back down.
Do you feel since you've stopped drinking, that you're more at peace with yourself since you've quit?
Yeah. Things don't bother me as much as they would have in my intoxicated state and mind. Things are calmer, things are more peaceful. It's just things feel level, not flat, but level. There's, I can experience happiness and joy. I also can feel sad and lonely or blue, but I don't get bogged down by that as much as I probably would have 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So that's the upside. Plus, I'm eating better, and I don't have to pretend I'm sober when I'm not, because I'm
Yeah.
always sober. And I don't have to wake up in the morning wondering and worrying what I did the night before, or if I ate the day before, or if I sent a bad email or a bad text. I mean, I haven't done that for years. I think I learned my lesson well in 2012 when my sister gave me that ultimatum. So that calmed down. But I mean, there's those periods where you get so intoxicated. I never blacked out, but I would wake up the next morning and not be sure of everything that had happened the night before. If I had ate, I'd often have to go out into the kitchen to see if there's dirty dishes, and oh, you had this, or you had that, or you had nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't have to deal with any of that anymore, which is that's good for the mind.
Do you miss it at all?
Uh, not. I don't think I miss it. Yeah, I don't miss it. Not right now. I mean, maybe in the future I will when I think I've got it all under control
Yeah.
and I'm back to 2021 when somebody offers me a beer and um but like I said, I hope I learned my lesson that time. And I know, I mean, I spent a better part of 20 years drinking a lot, and it will catch up to me eventually. Um, my doctor said I would never die from liver or kidney problems because, based on my liver results and kidney results, he said, your organs function fine. But I don't necessarily believe that. And I do think it would catch up to me eventually. And I hope I've, you know, stopped in time.
Did you had all your blood work and everything done right when you quit drinking?
Yeah, the very first week when I thought I had a CDs, and I was looking for all these telltale signs on your body that um, I was reading online. Like, you have these little red spots that look like spiders.
Yep.
So I was in front of my bathroom mirror, and if I had a red dot on my chest, I would try to see if it had the spider legs on it, which was, one of the telltale signs of liver issues. I was
Yeah.
looking for, um, you can get like kind of looks like scar tissue around your eyelids if your liver's failing. So I was looking to see if I had these little white scar tissue like things. And I had none of that. But until I got into the doctor and had my lab work done, I was still pretty nervous if I had gone too far and if I had pushed my body past a point of no return. And what that could look like. And then watching your videos as well, seeing what could happen.
Yeah.
That was scared me, but it also motivated me at the same time.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the purpose of the videos. One was to give people that are sick in the hospital or at home some kind of hope, that it does get better. And two is to, wake people up to, the fact that alcohol is such a harmful drug.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody last night about this. That people, it's just one of those things. It wasn't talked about when I was young that you could end up with cirrhosis in your 40s from drinking to
Yeah,
excess.
I would never think that um that disease would affect a 40-year-old. Like, we were all brought up thinking that was an old person's disease. That's what happens at the end, you
Exactly.
know, not in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. I used to get up every single morning and would like look at my eyelids. I would like pull them down and see if my eyes were yellow, and I'd be like, oh, okay, well my eyes aren't yellow, so I'm okay. And
I looked for that too.
the whole time I'm thinking that I know that my liver's okay, and it wasn't. in,
No.
in reality, my liver was just getting so damaged during that period of time, and I just had no idea. And all the warning signs were there. It's just I failed to recognize them, and or I just decided to look the other way. And I think it was a combination of both. I think I just didn't want to. I didn't want to
Did you
accept it.
feel did you feel sick or sickly in your sober moments?
Yeah, I felt like just like a trash can all the time. I just always felt bad. And there weren't a lot of sober moments. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I mean, if I didn't, if I've talked about it, I drank early in the morning and would drink all day during the day. There wasn't a lot of time that I hadn't at least had a drink or two. Um, I don't know. It's really hard to say because I just didn't have a lot of sober time. So there was
Right.
really no way for me to go, yeah, I was feeling really bad during these period of times. Anytime I was sober, I was probably hungover.
Yeah.
Um, and there were times too that I would be just so hungover I couldn't get another drink down. I would try my best to get that hair of the dog in the next day, and I just could not physically get it to go down. It just wouldn't work. I'd get a drink down and throw it up right away. There were days like that for me, and I don't know, man. That stuff's it's bad stuff, man. It's just so
Yeah.
bad. I'm so
Yeah, my
glad that I
body
got away from it.
yeah, my body never reacted with vomiting. I mean, towards the end when I was drinking at 9:15 in the morning, like, my body could take it. Like, I could just, slam down a beer and then slam down another one and slam down another. And I would just keep drinking. Like, I would not have moments of putting the beer can down. And sometimes um, I would take 2 or 3 cans of beer at a time just so I wouldn't have to get up to restock or refill. Like, I would take wherever I was, if I was in the living room, I would take 2 or 3 cans with me because I would drink them so fast they would never get warm. And then I wouldn't have to get up every time to get a new one,
That
which
brings up a good point.
was
Did you keep a cooler in your car? With ice.
no, no, I never did. All my drinking was done at home, like,
Okay.
during, like, the worst times. Yeah, I never drank in my car or driving. Um, yeah, it was all done at home. So, and I would never start drinking until I knew everything that had to be done that day was done. Like, if I had to go to the grocery store or if I had to go wherever, I would make sure that was done before I cracked my first beer, because once I cracked that first beer, I knew I wasn't going anywhere. And because I couldn't, I don't live in a place where it's easy to walk to a grocery store. Like, I need wheels to drive. And
Yeah,
as drunk as I would get, I would never get behind the wheel.
I never
So,
did it. I didn't get drunk and drive either. I
yeah,
drove buzzed plenty of times, but never drunk. I just never
yeah.
did that.
I drank and drove when I was younger. I will admit to that.
Oh, I did that
And
too.
um, but yeah, as the older I got, the more I realized, no, this is not a good thing. If you don't hurt you, you could hurt somebody else. And as bad as my life was drinking, I did not want it to get any worse by doing something stupid like that, because that would be nothing that I would think it would be easy to come back from.
I don't know if you guys have the same thing up in Canada that we have here in the States, but we have something that's, it's like a funny paper is what they call it, but it's like the arrest log that you can buy at like any gas station. So like
Oh, we don't have.
yeah, so like for each county, there's like a pamphlet that you can buy, and it's got everybody's picture, their mugshot, what they got arrested for, all that stuff. And it's at every gas station. And people buy them just because they want to be nosy and see who got arrested for what. And I was always scared that I was going to end up in that, and I just did not want to have my picture on the front of that paper.
That's a good deterrent. It obviously
Yeah,
didn't deter the people that ended up in the book, but that would certainly deter me.
yeah, and well, 90% of the time, the people that are in those papers are constantly,
In
continually,
those
and
papers.
yeah, they get arrested, get out, go right back again. It's the same people
Yeah.
over and over and over again for some odd reason. I guess they just don't learn their lesson, but that's neither here nor there. I just didn't want to be that guy on that paper. But
No, no.
what do you think that after the amount of times that you've stopped drinking and came back to drinking, stopped drinking again, came back to drinking? What's been your biggest takeaway from it all? Like, what's been your overall feeling with it, experience with it? Is there something that you've taken away from it that you could share with everybody?
Well, I think
I know that's kind of an
something I
obtuse
didn't want,
question, but
well, something that I never wanted to admit, is that I have a drinking problem. That even saying it right now, that I'm an alcoholic, that still causes me, you know, some angst, I guess. And even now, if I try to play games in my head, am I an alcoholic? Maybe I just drank too much. Because there's stigma associated with
oh,
being an alcoholic. I
absolutely.
mean, in many places, I'm sure my sister and my is not saying, "Oh yeah, that's my alcoholic brother." Like,
Yeah.
they would never say that. And when I go to my family doctor, the doctor I've had for 30 years, he knows everything about me, so he deals with me as a person. But you go to a different doctor and they have access to all your medical records, and they're on their laptops opening up your file. And in my head, I'm thinking, what are they seeing? Do they know I'm an alcoholic? Do they know I've been in rehab? And um, yeah, there's stigma associated with it. So I had a hard time saying I'm an alcoholic, um, but I am,
Yeah.
and I guess I always will be. Um, Drinking and me just are not a friendly mix. I mean, there's lots of people who can just drink and go on with it, but Not for me.
Yeah, I don't think for most of us that's the case. If it was, then we wouldn't have ended up where we are.
Yeah,
I know so many people that can just have a beer, and
yeah,
they might drink half of it and set it down, and like that would give me anxiety to see people do that. I'm like, well, you're
yeah.
wasting that. But I just never understood that people could do that. But I think there's just something that's just inherently different with us. I mean, I don't know what that is. I mean, I have no idea, and I'm trying to figure that out. But there's something different inside of all of us that drives us to want to continue and drink. I mean, just one is never enough. It's always to the point to where you don't know what's going on, and that was every single day for me, and it sounds like most days for you as well.
Oh yeah, for years and years and years and years, it was my driving force. It was when can I get home and get a beer? And um, yeah,
did
it
you
was
find
all
your
consuming.
did you find yourself like when it had gotten to be a really big problem? Because I know this was something like for me. Let's say that you were at work and things got drawn out and you had to stay a little bit later. I would get so upset if I had to stay late because I wanted to go home and drink. Did
Yeah,
did, did it did that did you get that way as well?
I never I never had to stay late. Overtime where I worked in my job, it was optional. You could either do it or not. And I
Okay.
always opted not to. Even when even prior to getting completely addicted and into that routine, I never wanted to work extra. I figured giving 8 hours of my life to a company was more than plenty. And
Yeah,
so I was never into overtime. So I was always home, at the same time. So I never had to worry about not getting home in time
gotcha, gotcha.
to have a drink.
Well, do you have anything else that you want to add here, David? Getting up close to this being the end of this session here.
Yeah, I would just say to anybody who's thinking about um, quitting or have quit, keep quitting. For those who quit, it gets easier. Um, and for those thinking about quitting, keep thinking about quitting until it happens. And you never know when that feeling's going to happen. I certainly didn't. I mean, every day I was going to quit, and then one day it just happened, and I managed to um, make it through that one day. And I mean, even making it through one day doesn't sound like much. It's 24 hours, but to get to the end of a day when you've been drinking for years and to make it through to the end of one day, that's a pretty good feeling. I mean, physically you don't feel great, but mentally, um, it's a good feeling. It's like, wow, I did it. I never thought I could, um, but I did. And I think one day can build into 2 days, can build into three, and pretty soon you're at 1 week, and then it becomes 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and I think it gets easier and easier. And avoid triggers, avoid things that made you want to drink, um, eat better, um, maybe consult a doctor if you're heavily into huge quantities of liquor every day. Consult your doctor,
Definitely
see if
need to
it's
see a doctor.
best practice to do it on your own. I think a lot of doctors doctors would say not.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just one day at a time. I was down to like 1 hour at a time during that first day.
Oh
It
yeah.
was like 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. And, you know, during that day, it was like I could go to the liquor store right now and this would all be over. But
Yeah.
I would not allow myself to do that. And then 1 hour more would pass. And it was like, okay. And yeah, I mean, things will settle down eventually, I think.
They do.
It won't become every minute of every day of your life at some point. I mean, yes, you'll always be an alcoholic, I guess, but you're a recovering alcoholic at this point. You're not part of that part of your life anymore. You've moved on. That's good. And it can be done. And it's way better than the alternative. And we know what the alternatives can look like, and they're not pretty.
No, they're not at all. Not at all. Like I said, never thought that you end up with cirrhosis in your 40s, but I'm living proof that it is possible, and
Yeah.
you know, it's unfortunate, and I've created this problem for myself now, and luckily you didn't end up with that, and I'm glad that you didn't. You know, you said
Well,
that you
I'll keep you posted post March 15th physical if
well,
anything shows up.
hopefully nothing will. One last thing though before we get off of here, you had said that you know you started having some bloating, you know, there towards the end of your drinking. After you quit,
Yep.
did that bloating pretty much all dissipate?
No, I still got the belly, and I think it's just lack of exercise. Like I haven't really
Okay.
been. It's winter here in Canada. I mean, where I live on the west coast, it's not minus 30 below and snow and stuff, but it's gray and raining most of the time. Um, so yeah, I mean, I still have the belly. I mean, it's not huge, but it was concerning once I got sober and
Yeah.
started listening to your videos and doing some research what a bloated belly could mean.
Yeah.
And then I think that first week, um I think I quit on a Monday, and by Wednesday I was sort of in a mental frenzy thinking I had every sort of problem that was associated with liquor. Mostly it was my stomach, and my eyes were still white, so I didn't have jaundice, but my lower left back was hurting, and I thought, oh, that sounds like kidney issues.
Or either
So by
pancreatitis.
yeah, so on I was in my doctor's office on Thursday of that first week, getting lab works done and getting sort of a look over of my body. And my doctor, the doctor I saw, he was filling in for my regular doctor because it was around the Christmas season. And the doctor I saw was actually an alcohol and drug addiction specialist.
Okay.
Um, so that actually was a good thing because I thought, well, this chap has seen it all, done it all, and he might see things that my GP, my regular doctor, would not have seen. Or so, yeah, I was happy that his replacement was an alcohol and drug specialist.
Gotcha.
So,
Well,
so yeah.
do you have anything else you want to add here, David, before we end this?
No, I think I've probably covered a lot. We've covered a lot. You've asked a lot of questions. Hopefully, I've given some insightful responses,
Absolutely.
and motivates other people who are contemplating doing this to keep thinking about doing something like this. And for those who are in the same place as me, congratulations, and keep on doing what you're doing because it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, David, I really appreciate you coming on here today for the is this the second or third time we've tried doing this at this point now?
Second, second.
But anyway, that was my bad. I messed that up. But at least this time we know for a fact that this worked out. So this will get
Exactly.
posted, and I just want to tell you thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on here today
Oh,
and spending your time to do this. I know this is going to help a lot of people on here. So thank you
well,
once
thanks for
again, David. I really do appreciate it.
well, thank you for the invitation and allowing me to share a bit of my life story with everybody else who's out there with their own life story. And
Absolutely.
I don't know. Let's make
Well,
a better story.
there you go. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it so much.